The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, the untold story of William Kamkwamba. Chapter 1, A Village Without Hope. The sun beat down on the dusty fields of Malawi, its heat relentless. The land, once green and fertile, was now dry and cracked. The earth splitting open like an old wound. Crops lay dead under the scorching sky. The rivers had shrunk into muddy trickles. And in the air, a silence heavier than hunger itself. 14-year-old William Kamkwamba stood outside his family's mud brick home, watching as his father scooped the last bit of maize from their wooden storage bin. There was no more food. He had known hunger before, but this time, it was different. It was 2001, and a brutal famine had gripped Malawi. The rains had failed, and with them, the crops that fed the village had withered away. People were starving. Some families survived on a single meal of boiled nzima, maize porridge, a day. Others had nothing at all. William's own family was suffering. He could hear his younger sisters crying at night, their stomachs aching with hunger. His father tried to hide his worry, but William saw it in his eyes. The quiet fear of a man who could no longer feed his family. Then came the final blow. William had to drop out of school. There was no money left for tuition, no hope of continuing his education. For most boys in his village, this was the end. But for William, it was just the beginning. Chapter 2, The Library of Dreams. William refused to let his education end. If he couldn't go to school, he would teach himself. He began sneaking into the small, dusty library at the local primary school. The books were old, many written in English, a language he barely understood. But he didn't let that stop him. One day, as he flipped through a tattered book titled, Using Energy, something caught his eye. A windmill. A machine that could generate electricity and pump water from the ground. His heart pounded. What if I build one? What if I can bring water to my village? What if we never have to suffer from drought again? It was a wild idea. No one in his village had ever seen a windmill before. He had no tools, no money, no guidance. But he had something more powerful, an idea that refused to die. Chapter 3, The Junkyard Engineer. William had no money to buy materials. So he scavenged through the village junkyard, searching for anything he could use. He collected bicycle parts from rusted frames, scrap metal from broken radios, PVC pipes and old fan blades, a dynamo from an old bicycle lamp. With these discarded pieces, he began sketching out his windmill on the dirt floor of his home. He had no blueprint, no teacher, only his determination and the pictures from the library book. The villagers mocked him. Look at this mad boy, playing with garbage. You think you can build something from trash? You're wasting your time. But William ignored them. Every day, he worked in silence. He twisted metal, shaped wood, and connected wires, learning by trial and error. His hands bled from cuts, his body ached from lifting heavy parts. He failed. Again and again. But he never gave up. Then, after months of struggle, it was ready. Chapter 4, The Wind Rises. On the day of the test, the entire village gathered. They watched as William climbed the shaky wooden tower, sweat dripping down his face. He reached the top and gripped the makeshift turbine blades, adjusting them carefully. For a moment, there was only silence. The villagers whispered, waiting for him to fail. Then, a gust of wind. The blades began to turn, sputtering at first, then faster and faster, until suddenly, electricity flowed through the wires. The light bulb in William's home flickered on. Gasps filled the crowd. The boy they had laughed at, the boy who had been playing in the junkyard, had done the impossible. But William wasn't finished yet. He knew that light wasn't enough. His village needed water. So he built a bigger windmill, strong enough to power a water pump. Days later, for the first time in years, water gushed from the dry earth. Farmers ran to touch it, unable to believe their eyes. The drought had been broken. William had saved his village. Chapter 5, From Village Boy to Global Inspiration. Word of William's windmill spread beyond his village. Soon, journalists came to see the boy who had built a working wind turbine from junk. Then, something unbelievable happened. He was invited to give a TED talk. He had never been on a plane before. He had never even seen the internet. And now, he was flying across the world to stand on a stage in front of thousands of people. Nervous but determined, he took a deep breath and spoke. "I tried, and I made it." His words were simple, but they shook the world. His talk inspired millions. Donations poured in. He was given the chance to return to school. He later attended Dartmouth College. Wrote a best-selling book, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And his story was even turned into a Netflix film. But despite his global fame, he never forgot his roots. He returned to Malawi to build schools, install solar panels, and teach other young inventors how to bring electricity to their villages. William Kamkwamba didn't just build a windmill. He built hope. Epilogue: The power of one idea. Today, William Kamkwamba's story is proof that education isn't limited to classrooms. Innovation isn't reserved for the rich. And even the most impossible dreams can come true. With no money, no resources, and no formal schooling, he harnessed the power of the wind and changed the fate of his village. So the next time you face a challenge, remember this. A boy with nothing but a book and a dream lit up his village. Imagine what you can do. William Kamkwamba's story is proof that one idea, one dream, and one determined mind can change the world. With nothing but a book, a pile of scrap metal, and an unbreakable spirit, he defied the odds. He didn't let poverty, hunger, or lack of education stop him. Instead, he saw opportunity where others saw nothing. And he built something that saved his village. But his journey didn't stop there. His windmill was just the beginning. Today, he is an innovator, an educator, and a symbol of what's possible when you refuse to accept limits. His work continues to inspire young minds across Africa and the world. And now, the question is, what can you build? What dream are you holding inside you right now? Maybe you don't have the perfect tools, the right resources, or the full support of those around you. Maybe people are telling you that your dream is impossible. But remember, great things start small. William Kamkwamba once said, "I tried, and I made it." So keep trying. Keep building. Keep believing. Because the next idea that changes the world could be yours. If you found William's story inspiring, leave a comment below on what lesson you took from it. Like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories of real-life heroes. And remember, never stop dreaming.